Welcome to the Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few. There's a powerful and thought-provoking collection of poems in the new book by MKT Johnson. It's titled The Journey. It's designed to explore all aspects of the human condition. And MKT is right here with me now. We're talking all about it. MKT, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
What are readers going to find whenever they get into the journey?
They're going to get into an emotional journey of highs and lows, loving, loss, and hopefully they see themselves in what they read.
And what kinds of readers did you have in mind for this? Who do you think this would connect with the best?
That's a good question. I want to say all. Young, old, couples, married couples, those looking. I think they're particular everybody.
When it comes to your writing background, what does that look like? Have you done a lot of this before?
No. This will be my first actually published writing.
So what was that spark, that inspiration that made you say, hey, I'm going to write this book?
Started when I was in high school, really, and getting your heart broken for the first time, and then evolving over time after that, growing up, and then going from there. So the first book that we come out with, The Journey, starts with me being an adult male and my journey as a man going forward and evolving in my writings and things like that. And then the follow-up would be how you got to see the person you are in the journey. So I'll call it the prequel, to put it that way.
So you chose a great publisher to work with, Newman Springs. What did you find to be the most challenging part of that publishing process for you?
The waiting. That's just the waiting. The waiting.
And then that one day, your work finally all paid off and the first copy was in your hands. What was that like for you?
I was so proud. I was like, oh my God, it's published. It's in my hand. I just couldn't believe it.
And now you're a published author. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
Allowing everyone to read my writings and give me their honest-to-God opinion.
MKT, you mentioned a follow-up to The Journey. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, so the follow-up, I call it the prequel. I leave you hanging at the end of the journey, and I wanted you to have that, what's next, right? So the follow-up would be, okay, you see who he is now, but how did he get to where he is at? So you get to see the raw, uncut writings that got me to be who I am, which you first fell in love with.
Oh, we have a lot of listeners right now, and they're authors just starting out. Do you have maybe some advice that you could offer them?
Be patient, and always be patient in the process of getting your works published. And whatever you write, make sure you can see yourself and enjoy what you're writing. Because if you don't enjoy it or you can't see yourself or somebody else in it, then your readers won't either.
Yeah, good advice. So let's say you're feeling inspired, you sit down to write, and nothing comes out. The page or the screen just stays blank. Do you have a strategy for those kind of writer's block situations?
Yes. I just get in the mode of, when I have writer's block, me personally, I grew up listening to old school music. So all old school hip-hop, R&B, gospel, things like that. So I go back to an old classic song that my mother might have played for me, or something that I heard when I was in church when I was growing up. And it kind of gets my head going, and then I go for a walk. And as I'm walking, your mind starts to wonder what things you see as you're walking, stuff like that, and words just come to you. So I just start jotting down what's in my head, and I have it on paper, so it'd be inconcise ideas, things that I've seen, things that came to me. And then when I get home, now I can put pen and paper and formulate it into what I wanted to see in one whole story.
Well, I've talked with a lot of authors here over the years, and something I've noticed is how many of them also say that they love to read as well. MKT, would you call yourself an avid reader?
Yes.
So are you the kind of author who has sort of a routine to it, like maybe you like to get up real early in the morning and start writing, or maybe you're a late night writer, or maybe you write whenever the inspiration comes on? MKT, which one of those are you?
I write when it hits me. I can be sitting there, and I like to put together multiple writings at one time. So when I think of something, I just jot it on pen and paper. And then once I get my head right, and I get in that mode, I sit at my computer, I start typing, and I might come up with one long one, 3, 4 short ones. I might come up with a story. And I lose track of time. And I'm never satisfied in what I write. The raw cut always, I don't know why, I always leave it untitled until I keep reading, I keep thinking, I keep editing, and then the title will hit me.
Well, again, this book is titled The Journey. It's written by MKT Johnson, published by Newman Springs Publishing. So head on over to places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or right down the street at your local bookshop. You'll be able to pick it up. MKT, thank you for coming on the show. It's been great to talk with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm sitting down talking with author Jesse Hereda here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Jesse, welcome to the show. It's great to be talking with you.
Hey, Corey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Jesse, I'm excited about your new book, The Battle for Covenant Grove, An Awakening. Can you tell me all about it?
Sure. So this is a fiction novel that I wrote primarily for tweens and teens on spiritual warfare from a uniquely Catholic perspective. Although it was written primarily for tweens and teens, it really is for readers of all ages and all faith backgrounds. This is, from my perspective and from some of my readers that have gotten back to me with their feedback, full of relatable characters and a story that you can relate to regardless of where you are in your stage of life, your age, and your faith background and beliefs.
So how did it all come about, Jesse? What was that motivation or that inspiration behind it?
Well, really, for more than 20 years, I've wanted to write something, a work of fiction, and I didn't really know what that was supposed to be. In my notes app on my phone, for example, the note on book ideas is lengthy, but nothing ever really hit home. And honestly, there was one Saturday morning in 2024, I woke up very early, almost sat straight out of bed, and these characters were in my head. And the storyline was in my head, and I knew that this is what I was supposed to write. So I started putting, pen to paper or, fingers to keys, and just tried to get down as much as my head would let me as fast as I could so that I could then kind of build on that in time. So really, I would say the inspiration or the drive behind it was that it was finally the right subject matter. And I'll only say that it was the Holy Spirit that guided me to it, because there's no way that I could have figured it out on my own that abruptly.
So is this the first time you've been published then?
It is, yes. It is my first published work, and I'm very excited about that.
Being your first one, was this a long journey that you were on overall, the writing, then the publishing and all that?
Yes, it certainly was. I would say, it was probably the better part of 9-ish months to draft what I considered the final manuscript in order to submit to a publishing house. Then the publishing process through edits and all of that, took an additional, 9 or 12 months, through art and final publication. So it was a long and tedious process, but it was very worth it. It really was.
So you worked with a great publisher, Christian Faith. Was there anything about that publishing process that you found particularly challenging?
I don't know if I would say challenging is the right word, but definitely the editing process was time consuming. And, you're getting feedback from someone else on something that's kind of your baby. And that can be hard sometimes. And you really have to work through that and recognize that they're trying to get you to the best possible, end result. So again, challenging might not be the right word, but it was time consuming for sure.
And there's nothing like seeing that finished product. So whenever the battle for Covenant Grove was in your hands, finally for the first time, Jesse, what was that like for you?
It was surreal. The cover art is pretty unique from my own perspective. And again, the publisher did that. And when that box arrived and I opened it up, it was just sheer gratitude, a level of pride, but it really was more gratitude that it was like we've arrived at this point where it can now be digested by people other than my close family and friends, and it can go out to the wider world. So it was an amazing experience, and one I look forward to, hopefully doing again with, because this was intended to be written as a trilogy. So this is book 1 of 3. I am right now working on the very beginning stages of book 2. So I hope that readers will be interested in enough in the first one to continue the journey with Josh, Ava, and Mason, the main characters in this book.
Again, this book is titled The Battle for Covenant Grove, An Awakening. It's written by Jesse Hereda and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So you can find it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Jesse, thank you again for coming on the show. I've had a really good time talking with you.
Thank you, Corey, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm sitting down chatting with author Kendyll P. Schichel right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. We're talking about his new book, The Life of Wilbur Fly, The Fight for Flight. Dan, welcome to the show. It's great to be talking with you.
Thank you, Corey. Good to be here.
Dan, can you tell me all about the life of Wilbur Fly?
Yeah. The Life of Wilbur Fly, The Fight for Flight is a book that's really an allegory about the Christian life. The book is about a baby caterpillar that gets born deep in the forest to the king butterfly. And when he hatches out of his egg and he's sitting there on the leaf, the king butterfly comes down and hovers over him and speaks his destiny to him, speaks the blessing over him and tells him he's born to fly and he's going to soar high with the king and he's stronger on the inside than he is on the outside. No matter what you go through, don't ever forget who you are and keep moving toward the tree line to transform and be like the king. And then the king flies off and Wilbur, he gives him his name, Wilbur Fly, when he talks to him. And Wilbur's just watching him fly away, wondering, how am I going to fly? Look at me, I don't have wings, I'm a worm. And he starts shouting in the air, this isn't fair. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't have wings. And so he finally just thinks to himself, what I put on the back of the book is that he'll probably never see the king again. And he just starts going about his business, walking through the forest and eating leaves. And a pure white butterfly always shows up right from the beginning, who's a type of the Holy Spirit, that Christians are filled with the Spirit. And she always comes when he's down and he makes a mistake or gets deceived, and she encourages him and keeps pointing him in the direction of the tree line where he'll find the king and transform to be like the king. So through the whole book, he goes through all kinds of struggles with getting deceived by wicked ants that talk him into working for his wings. And that doesn't work. And then he gets deceived by a wicked bee colony, and a queen bee convinces him all he needs is honey, and he gets stung and fails there and walks through many obstacles and is very discouraged, but he keeps moving. The pure butterfly keeps coming to him, just like God does with us, and keeps lifting him up and encouraging him to get up and keep moving. And he finally uncovers a plot in the forest, much the same way as the Christian life, that there's a force that's trying to keep caterpillars from flying, tries to break them. And it's Mayor Crawler, the mayor of the city of Wounded Worm. He's an angleworm, and he can't fly. And from birth, he hates the king because he thought he could fly too, like the caterpillars, but he watched all of his friends transform and fly away, and he couldn't fly. So he became a wicked, bitter mayor, and he devised a plot in the forest through bitter nectar to keep caterpillars in a broken state from understanding who they really are. And they lose hope, and they just wander, and they forget about finding the king until Wilbur and his friend Sammy uncover the plot, and they devise a plan through establishing a place called the City of Hope, where they find broken caterpillars and bring them to the City of Hope and help them understand who they really are, the true image of a butterfly on the inside of them. And they take many, many with them to the tree line to transform and fly with the king. It's an allegory that really paints a good picture of what we walk through as Christians in life.
So once you got started on The Life of Wilbur Fly, The Fight for Flight, was this a long process for you overall, the writing and publishing and everything?
The publishing part was a little bit, I wrote the book, it didn't take too long. The book came to me, honestly, and not to be super spiritual, but just in prayer, I just started seeing this image of this caterpillar, and I started writing, and I was basically writing like I was watching a big screen TV on the screen of my mind, and I was just writing what I saw as Wilbur walked through this, from chapter to chapter, through this process of transformation and finding the king. It probably only took, a couple weeks to write it. But then the publishing process, obviously, back and forth with the publishers, takes some time.
Well, it sounds like readers are going to love this book. Again, it's titled The Life of Wilbur Fly, The Fight for Flight. It's written by Kendyll P. Schichel and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So go on over to places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. You'll be able to get it. Dan, it's been great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you, Corey. God bless.
I'm looking at an uplifting children's book that encourages empathy, understanding, and inclusion for people of all abilities. The title of the book is Different Like Me, and it's written by Kendyll King. And Kendyll is right here with me. We're going to talk all about the book. Kendyll, welcome to the show. It's great to be talking with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Kendyll, can you tell me all about what you've written in Different Like Me?
I thought that children with disabilities needed to be represented in literature, and then also for those that don't have a disability to understand disability starting at a young age. So I put that into words, and out came Different Like Me.
Kendyll, what sorts of readers did you have in mind while you were working on it?
I definitely want to represent the children with disabilities, and I've captured several different disabilities within the book, but also I want it as an educational piece for other children and educators to use in their classrooms to introduce and make others familiar and more comfortable with differences, asking for help, and disabilities in general.
What was your inspiration? What was that motivation behind this? What got you started?
I have worked with adults with disabilities for many years, most of my career, and there just wasn't anything to represent them. I started my PhD and did my dissertation on parents with disabilities, and basically what the outcome of that research was that nobody is taught, not from a young age, not in medical school, not, social workers, medical professionals, nobody is taught and nobody knows how to work with the population. So I took it upon myself to write a children's book that starts that education.
What does your writing background look like, Kendyll? Have you done this kind of thing before, or is this all kind of a new thing for you?
This is brand new.
So once you got started on it, was this a long process for you overall, the writing, then the publishing and everything?
No, the writing didn't take very long at all. And then I submitted it, and I was one of the lucky ones to get approved by the publisher to move forward on the first try. And from there, everything went smoothly, and here we are today.
Yeah, it's great that was a smooth process for you, and I'm looking at it, the artwork is great, and that's a really important element of a book like this. So was the artwork, the illustrations, a smooth thing for you too?
Yes. The artists that I work with through the publisher, they listened to what I wanted and made it clear on why I chose the bright, vibrant colors and the realistic-looking characters just to help people with disabilities have that more concrete understanding.
It must have been a special moment for you whenever you open up the mailbox and there it was, finally, the first copy of Different Like Me, and you take it, you hold it in your hands, Kendyll. What's that moment like for you?
It was amazing. As soon as I pulled it out of the mailbox, I get all giddy and I start calling everyone. I called my kids, my parents, all my siblings, and it was just really exciting to share.
So looking ahead, do you see yourself writing and publishing more, do you think?
I actually do have a follow-up book to go with Different Like Me. I haven't sent it into a publisher yet. I wanted this one to take off, and then I would introduce the second one.
So now your work's out there, you've been published. Kendyll, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I think educating the future on this population and letting them know that differences, disabilities, and asking for help is part of being human, and it's absolutely okay.
Well, we have a lot of aspiring authors listening to us right now. Kendyll, do you maybe have some advice that you could offer to them?
If you really believe in what you want to do and what you want to say, don't give up.
Well, what an important book. I think children and families are really going to love this. Again, it's titled Different Like Me. It's written by Kendyll King. It's published by Christian Faith Publishing, and it's available pretty much everywhere. Head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or right down the street at your local bookshop. You'll be able to pick this up. Well, Kendyll, it's been great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
I'm chatting with author E.J. Rodriguez about his new novel, The Oppression. It's a gripping supernatural thriller that plunges readers into the unseen battle between faith and darkness. EJ, welcome to the show. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to hear about The Oppression, EJ. Can you tell me what readers are going to be getting into here?
Well, the Oppression is a psychological supernatural thriller with a religious tone, but not in the sense that other books and movies especially have created insofar as that genre is concerned. The jump scares, the CGI, and everything that goes into getting that scare material out of the people. No, it's not like that. What's unique about this book is that it's based on actual events that happened to myself and family that were leveraged. And instead of putting it in a dry sequential type of story, we put it in a fiction format to get more creativity out of it. It really envelops the story of resiliency, faith, and really applying logic to a situation where we can't control, which we can apply in our everyday lives.
As far as the readers who would be into this the most, EJ, are you thinking the thriller horror fans?
I think the people that really want to think about things. And what I mean by that is they look at it, when they read the summary of the book, they know that this is just not another horror book, not something like The Exorcist or something to that, or slasher type of story or narrative. I think the type of readers that are going to read this are the ones that want to internalize a story that can happen to any one of us, because it did. It happened to me. And I wrote it in the sense that I remember it. I wrote it in the sense how I logically thought about the situation as it occurred. So it speaks to the mind and hearts of anybody who reads it. So the greatest review I've had on this, and the most common review, is that it has a stick factor. It stays with you long after you read it.
So you drew from your own life for this book. What was that inspiration then that made you say, hey, I got a great story here. I got to write this book?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, that's the question I get asked the most. Well, I was writing a book on personal development and success building and so on and so forth, kind of like the self-help type of genre. But I just couldn't get through. I kept hitting a wall. I was like, this is saturated. But I was starting to get somewhere right up into maybe around the April-May timeframe about 3 years ago. And then I took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee with my family. And a series of events happened there that as soon as I got back, some incredible, let's just say, preternatural effects started to happen in the home. And it started to really, I'm retired Air Force. I'm a cybersecurity specialist. I used to be a wilderness survival instructor and martial artist for 40 years. So I come from a standpoint that's very methodical, and you apply logic and standard operating procedures to anything you see or hear. Smell, you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. I mean, everything in the outside world. However, this didn't apply. The situation started to, as soon as it happened, it went through an ordeal over several months. And after it was over, I was watching a movie it was one of these horror movies on TV that I think it was one called The Pope's Exorcist. And although it was a good movie, I saw at the end had a lot of CG effects and special effects. And I sat back and I said, and I said to my daughter, fear doesn't happen that way. Fear is very organic. It's very quiet. It's so quiet that you can hear your heartbeat as you breathe, because the hair standing in the back of your head, and you're in that flight or fight mode, and your adrenaline's pumping, that chemical cocktail is moving through the body, and it doesn't happen this way. And then I said, I can write a better screenplay than that. And my daughter says, well, instead of writing that book you're writing that you keep hitting a wall with, I think you should write on this. This is so fresh in your head. And I said, you know what? You got something there. And I took a business trip to Vegas, and I was a little bored because Vegas isn't my forte. And I was in the hotel, and I decided to just have a drink, sit down, and start to write. And I just started writing, and everything just took over from there.
Well, this sounds like a really exciting book. Again, it's titled The Oppression. It's written by E.J. Rodriguez, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. EJ, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been great to chat with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And I enjoyed writing it, and I hope all the readers enjoyed reading it as well.
I'm sitting down chatting with author Jimmy Irish here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Jimmy, welcome. Great to have you.
Well, thank you for the offer to be on with you.
Jimmy, I'm curious about your new book that just came out titled Little Brian, the military brat's best Christmas ever. Can you tell me all about it?
Well, I don't want to give away the ending, but with that said, it's a great book because it's kind of near and dear to my heart in the sense that I am also someone who's had, as a veteran, had the experience of our beloved children while traveling around after us. And the inspiration was there's a lot of military kids out there. And I think that audience and the parents will really enjoy the book because, in particular, little Brian with his two brothers, when he was 6 months old, he was on his way to Europe. And then it basically never stopped from there. He went from living in Germany to Rhode Island to Arkansas to Alaska and just on. And that transition can be a little tough on the little tykes. And the military brat is used as an affectionate term, by the way. And the kids really become resilient with time, but the parents have to give it, a lot of their attention as far as helping them with those transitions. And looking, making it more of an adventure and then fun and learning new things and kind of like going on a class field trip, except you're going to actually live in the environment and learn a lot about the different cultures, even within the United States, because the cultures from, let's say, the Southwest to the Northeast are, they're Americans, but at the same time, they have their uniqueness from the regions that they're in. So that's kind of in a nutshell, is what the book is kind of about. And Brian's got two brothers in the book also. Like, for an example, James, my oldest son in real life and in the book, he had to go where he went to school in, 2 different countries and 3 different states in 1 year. So it can be something. I remember the little tyke, I affectionately refer to him as that too, but, reaching out to hold Dad's hand, and Dad was this big military guy, and he was just this little guy, and I realized, at that moment, this would be a great story to write about, because these kids, I could tell he was a little nervous, but he did really good, and he did really well. So that's the book in a nutshell, and that's why I put it together, because there's a lot going on. Dad's often gone because of his profession. Mom has to be the anchor to keep things going, and then when Dad is reinserted into the core family again from time to time, he's gone from time to time. For longer stretches, he was home and gone, but still, 6 weeks here, a month there, those type of things are kind of commonplace, and then there are those who get even longer stretches depending on what the assignment is.
Jimmy, have you ever done anything like this before? What's your writing background look like?
Well, my writing background is actually writing business plans. I was a professor up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I also worked at the University of Phoenix and 1 or 2 other, Wayland Baptist. So I did a lot of, in particular, entrepreneurship classes, introduction to business type classes. So my writing is much more academia style. I mean, my class for small business management was a writing intensive course, but that's writing in a certain format and making sure that they understand from a critical thinker's point of view to make sure everything is backed up 100%. So much more formal and technical writing versus doing what I call, this is kind of leisure writing. I just find it to be so enjoyable that I have no qualms with the results of this new style of writing that I've taken on.
So this all being new for you, was this a long journey that you set off on, the writing and the publishing and everything?
The learning curve. Now, here I was, helping lots of people start up their own small businesses, held lots of workshops, and helped people with growing of their businesses. But I had never come across, unfortunate for me, I had to learn it from scratch, the industry. It was quite the tough steps that I went through before I started to understand the nuances and the more reputable companies versus those who are just out for the dollar. So because you're having that interaction going on. So I had to really do my very best. I used to be a critical thinking instructor too. So I did a lot of background checks, a lot of research as much as I could, but I was learning on the fly.
Well, I think readers are going to love this book. Again, it's titled Little Brian, the Military Brat's Best Christmas Ever. It's written by Jimmy Irish, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. Pick it up at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Jimmy, it's been great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Hey, it was my pleasure.
Author David Davenport brings readers a faith-filled collection of devotional reflections drawn from a lifetime on the road. It's titled The Highway Knows My Name. And I'm talking with David right now here at the show. David, welcome. It's really good to be talking with you.
Well, it's good to be talking to you. Thank you.
David, can you tell me all about what you've written in The Highway Knows My Name?
Well, it is a collection of stories that have come from journals I kept over the years of things that happened on the highway as we were out moving the kind of loads we moved. We moved those really big ones, the ones everybody hates because they block the road and they have to lift the highline wires and all that sort of thing. But that's what I did most of my life, and it actually is a bit of a testament to my dad. He taught me the business. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. Our family had 5 boys, and then we had a little sister. But we all worked in the business, and Dad was the teacher. And probably the majority of the lessons in the book are things that my dad taught me.
So, David, what was that inspiration that made you say, hey, I want to write my stories and I want to publish these?
Our family has a really interesting history of just being absolutely blessed. And I wanted to write those down so that my grandkids, my great-grandkids, my brothers and sisters' kids would be able to remember where we came from and how it all started.
What kinds of readers do you think would be most into it?
Well, they're all devotions. They'll start with a story from the highway, and then I will always tie them to a scripture. And I have many people that have the book already who have told me they like to read a chapter a day as a devotional guide. And 2 friends that are couples that say they read a chapter together every night before they go to bed. So they're interesting stories. If you don't know anything about truckers and the things that we do, it's informative.
What does your writing background look like, David? Do you have experience doing this kind of thing?
I do not. Like I said, I kept journals, and I lived my life on the highway, but I was called to be a pastor when I was 19 years old. So I've always done a lot of preaching and been the pastor of the same church for 50 years. And in that preaching and telling these stories, people asked me if I would write them. So I started writing them as devotions and sending them to our church people. And they liked them, and so I just kept writing them. And then I have a good friend who's a football coach, and he said to me, you should put those in a book. And I said, well, why not? So I bundled them up, sent them off, and here we are.
And you chose a great publisher, Christian Faith. David, during that publishing process, was there anything about that you found challenging?
Well, they were so good to work with me. I am just so grateful. But I realized when I sent the first manuscript off what an undisciplined writer I was. And they coached me through the edits, and I don't know how many they give you, but I took them all. And so it took probably 10 months of asking for more information or can you clarify this and fixing the format. So I'm working on a second book now, and I am much more disciplined in that book than I was in the first one. So the Christian Faith publishing folks have done a really good job of schooling me in the ways of writing things that you don't have to spend a whole year editing.
Man, I could only imagine what was going through your head whenever the first copy of The Highway Knows My Name, it's in your hands. David, what was that moment like?
Oh, my goodness. It was an absolute dream come true. I still have that very first copy, and it's tucked away, and it will always be a treasure to me. But the folks that have read the book are the biggest gift to me.
Well, again, this book is titled The Highway Knows My Name. It's written by David Davenport, and it's published by Christian Faith Publishing. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, David, it's been really great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Corey, thank you so much for thinking about me and giving me a call. I really appreciate it.
Right now, I'm chatting with author Renessa T.J. Parsley. TJ, welcome to the show. It's nice to be talking with you tonight.
Thank you. It is nice to be talking to you as well.
TJ, you got a new book out titled Topsy Turvy. Can you tell me all about it? What'd you write about here?
It's a book that should inspire children to use their imagination. It's about things that I guess you could say could be turned upside down. For instance, I think in the book it talks about skunks having trunks. And if they did, would they smell like roses?
How did the inspiration, the motivation for this come on, TJ?
I used to be a school teacher. I have a lot of experience with children, especially younger children, and that's pretty much where my inspiration came from.
And when it comes to writing and publishing and all of that, TJ, is this a new thing for you, or are you experienced somewhat in it?
No, this is all brand new to me.
So, being your very first book, was this a long process overall for you, the writing and then the publishing and all that?
Well, the writing, not so much, and the publishing, if it was long, it was my fault because I don't know how to use computers, and so I would have to wait on my daughter to help me.
Well, you had a great publisher to work with, Covenant Books. TJ, once you got into that publishing process, was there anything about it that you found particularly challenging for you?
No, they really explained everything very well to me. I didn't have any problems with them. They're a fantastic company.
Well, you spent all that time looking at this thing on your computer, and now it's finally a real thing. The day that first copy came in and you were holding topsy-turvy. TJ, what was that moment like for you?
It was awesome. I could not believe that I actually had a book that had been published.
And now you're officially a published author. But what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
For me, it would be that I hope that others would be inspired to follow their dreams and accomplish their goals in life.
What are the chances, TJ, that we'll be seeing some more from you maybe down the road? Would you think you'll be writing and publishing some more?
I'm certainly hoping to. I've already got some other books that I've written. I haven't sent them to the publisher, but one I have sent to Covenant Books to be published, hopefully.
A really important aspect of a book like this is the illustrations. TJ, how was that process for you? Was that a smooth one to get those illustrations nailed down?
Oh, yes, it was wonderful. They were fantastic.
Well, I've talked with a lot of authors here over the years, and something I've noticed is how many of them also say they love to read as well. TJ, what kind of reader are you? Are you a big one?
I'm a very avid reader, yes.
What kinds of things do you find yourself getting lost in?
Well, for one, I read my Bible every day, but I like the stories that are based on true historical events.
When it comes to writing and everything like that, TJ, who or what would you say is most inspirational to you?
Probably my children and grandchildren. They're the ones that inspire me and encourage me the most.
Well, so much of our listening audience right now, they're authors who are just starting out. TJ, do you have some advice that you could toss out there for them?
Just like I said, follow your dreams and try to reach the goals that you need to reach.
So while you're writing, does it ever get challenging for you, like maybe writer's block and things like that?
Not so far, no, because the way I write everything in rhyme. Now, I am trying to work on another book that's not a children's book, but it's based on true life experiences, but I'm still a long way away from that.
Well, this sounds like a great book for children. Again, it's titled Topsy Turvy. It's written by Renessa T.J. Parsley and published by Covenant Books. So go on over to places like Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or traditional brick-and-mortar stores. You'll be able to pick this up. TJ, it's been really great to talk with you tonight. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Well, sure. I enjoyed it very much.
Robert J. Wizeman has just released a heartfelt story that follows the adventures of a cat and a worm. The book is called Willie and Lakshmi, The Absurdity of Possibilities. Robert is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we get to talk all about it. Robert, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And hello to all our friends out there.
Robert, I can't wait to find out about Willie and Lakshmi. Can you tell me all about this?
Well, this was a book that was kind of written as an accident. Later in life, I decided to spend some time with a public elementary school in New Jersey. And the book chronicles a year that I spent working with an all-inclusive class that had some very bright children and some very special children. As I was really hired as an aide to basically work teaching math and other little things, but for some reason they thought I would be good working especially with some young autistic first graders, and it was an experience I honestly had never imagined I would do. So I was just trying to give a little back to society in my later years here, and it ended up, whatever I gave to the kids, they gave so much more to me. So this book was really written as a thank you to the school for letting me spend some time with the children. And the book itself is a chronicle of a year's worth of time. So it really takes two parts. It has something called the segment, which is really the school's monthly themes with my little funny takes on them. And the story about the worm and the cat and how they learn to deal with many different things. The worm represents an autistic child. It covers a lot. It's also an activity book because the way they taught children there was to do a lot of coloring. And so I made this book interactive in that there's pages you can color. There's pages from one page to the next. It's a little different, kind of like a highlights magazine where you look at one page and you look at the other and something's just a little different. And there's a little secret code in there. And it all is based around kindness more than anything and empathy.
Robert, would you say this is for younger children?
Say this is for first to third graders for the most part. Again, it's meant to be interacted with more than anything because it's kind of a lot. There's about 36 pages in the book. But as you know, I saw what the teachers did in school. They would work on something, put it down, pick it up, maybe a week later. So this is the kind of book that you put down, you pick it up, and maybe you see something a little different the second time you see that. It's really meant to engage children to get them to think.
What does your writing background look like? Have you done a lot of this kind of thing before?
Oh, no, not at all. I had all my writing was really business writing. I had worked in Manhattan for many years. I had written some contracts, which I'm not a lawyer, but I would write the contracts and the attorneys would review the contracts. So, and certainly a lot of business letters and contracts. So this was my first real venture into writing. It's just something that just came out of me as I was nearing the end of the year, that this just meant so much to me at the school that I felt as if I had to write this book.
And the artwork is a really important aspect in a book like this. Robert, was that a smooth process for you?
Covenant House did a fabulous job with it, but I have to say the art is really based on a lot of what I saw the young children do. Particularly the worm and one autistic child. It's different, that's for sure, but it's the idea, though, that these children could be so creative in their artwork. It just totally amazed me that the talent level of these children.
What a wonderful book. Again, this is titled Willie and Lakshmi, The Absurdity of Possibilities. It's written by Robert J. Wizeman and published by Covenant Books. Pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, thank you again, Robert, for coming on the show and telling me all about Willie and Lakshmi. It's been nice to talk with you.
Same here, and thank you for all your audience for listening. Appreciate everybody.
Dr. Eric Moyer brings us a transformative exploration of discovering one's true identity in Christ in his new book, Redeeming Identity, Restoring the Heart of God's Design. And Eric is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and we're talking all about it. Eric, welcome to the show. It's really great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Eric, can you tell me all about what readers are going to get into when they open up Redeeming Identity?
Well, a lot of us have an idea of who we are at a very kind of high level. What Redeeming Identity does is takes us a little bit deeper into what makes us who we are and provides a really straightforward framework for thinking about who we are down to what do we believe, what is our priorities, what is our principles, what is our purpose. And so how do we put those together to construct this idea of our identity?
What kinds of readers do you think this would be best for?
I wrote it really down to earth. So I wrote it for people who just want to get an idea from a both biblical and psychological idea of what their identity is. So there's a lot of engaging stories. I tried to write it to a very straightforward person who wants to just read it. But I've also written it for pastors and leaders who really want to help their ministries and their churches, help them discover who God created them to be.
How did this all come about, Eric? What was that inspiration or that motivation behind it?
The inspiration was, I was in ministry for lots of years. I've been a teacher for my entire life, and I went into ministry in children's and youth ministry. And I was doing that for lots of years, trying to find ways of how to help kids and youth really grow into the people God wants them to be. And God took me on a journey outside of ministry to get my PhD in educational psychology, where I learned about the importance of identity. And he helped, God led me into trying to build an understanding of the importance of that. And how did that really impact all that work that I was trying to do? He kind of gave me this framework and this focus on how to do that in a much more effective and long-lasting way. And so as I communicated these ideas with pastors and leaders that I knew and I had conversations with, a lot of them were like, "This sounds really great. When are you writing the book?" And so that was kind of the impetus. I was never really thinking about writing a book, but it was really from the call of people asking me to write it to communicate the ideas that I was finding out and putting together.
Eric, is this your first published work, or do you have some experience doing this kind of thing?
Oh, this is my first one. I actually never thought of myself as a writer. I thought of myself as a teacher. My background is actually in mathematics. And so when people would ask me about writing, I always was more of the person that's like, I'm not a writer. But God always has a sense of humor in that he sometimes leaves us to do things that we never think that we're able to do and stretch us in new ways. And so this is my first book. It took a lot of time to write it, so it would be done well, and went through lots of iterations of it to make sure that it reached the right tone and the right audience. But I'm looking forward to seeing what God does with it, and looking forward now to writing some more.
And you hooked up with a great publisher, Christian Faith. Eric, once you started working with them, was there anything about that publishing process that you found particularly challenging for you?
The hardest part in the publishing process was just the amount of time it takes. I never really thought through or never experienced how much time it takes from you have this wonderful manuscript that you spent time through, but then all the different steps that it needs to go through and how much time each of those different steps take. It took a lot longer than I thought to get from that finished manuscript to the actual book in hand. So it was really the time that was the biggest surprise to me.
Well, again, this book is titled Redeeming Identity, Restoring the Heart of God's Design. It's written by Dr. Eric Moyer, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available basically everywhere: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Eric, it's been really great to talk with you tonight. Thank you so much again for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great getting to chat with you.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, just to name a few.